Hi guys, I'm Louisa and I'm back with another video. Today I want to share with you my winter book haul, so books that I've acquired from around Christmas time and until now that I haven't talked about yet, or that I haven't shown in a haul. And I'm proud to say that even though I have 20 books, like 20 books is not a lot considering it's over a 3-month almost period, but that is not what I'm most proud of. What I'm most proud of is only 8 of them are new books that I have on my TBR to read. The remaining books I have already read, but there's a couple of them that I'm intending to reread. So yeah, but at least there's that. The first book I'm going to talk about is a gift I received for Christmas. I almost never get Christmas presents that are books for Christmas or for my birthday. It happens pretty rarely, but it did in this case. And I got Grimm, the fairy tales retold for old and young by Kenneth, Bøgh, Andersen and Benni Bødker, which is illustrated by John Ken Mortensen. I've already read it. I read it as an audiobook form because that's how it was released at first. But it's also become a book, obviously, and has 10 of the Grimm's fairy tale. It starts out with Hansel and Gretel, which is one of my favorites, and like it has some creepy images every now and then. Like this one is intense. But it also is a lot darker than a lot of the fairy tales are made to be today. They go down to the roots, the ones that were told back then, but the ones that were told, you only get snippets of the different parts, so they're sort of filling out the gaps, if you will, and making it in the tone that it feels like the story was told. And so Hansel and Gretel, the parents, you're always, like in the later retellings, you're told that the mother was a stepmother, that she was the one who was the evil one who sent out these kids when they had no money or no food left, when in fact it was her own mother, their own flesh and blood. So it makes it a little bit more morbid that your own parents would actually do this, but to make it seem a little less tragic, they made the newer ones with step-parents instead, and they do that a lot in those retellings. But I did enjoy it. I didn't love the collection as much as I thought I would, but I decided to get a physical copy because I would like to try and reread them a couple of times. Also because I think the audio wasn't narrated as well as I was expecting it to, and so I wanted to try and reread it in the physical form. I don't know how to talk about the next ones. Let's see. The first 2 books I'm going to talk about are some editions that were favorites of mine last year that I didn't have a physical copy of. The first one is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. If you didn't know this, if you haven't watched my favorites video, this one came in at the second favorite of the year. I really enjoyed it, and this was cheap. It is a used copy. I could have gotten a prettier edition, a newer edition, but I probably will get that later. But I decided to get this one, and I'm happy about it. So now I can reread it whenever I feel like. Another favorite of mine from last year is Pet Sematary by Stephen King, so expanding my Stephen King collection with this story felt like a necessity. Pet Sematary is one of my favorite Stephen Kings now. It's like either the number 1 or 2nd, I haven't really decided, but I definitely recommend this one, and it's not one of the longest Stephen King either. So anyone interested in reading this could definitely get through it quite quickly. It is not the edition that I thought I would get, but it's fine. Now the next part is going to be because I want to reread this series and the spin-off, and I missed a couple of books because I only had them in ebook form. The first one is Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead, which I've actually already read. I read it and finished it yesterday. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I would probably already have it up, but I will talk about it in my weekly wrap up. I also needed a copy of the 5th book, which is Spirit Bound, and now I have 3 different editions in this series because I started out by collecting this edition, which I would have wanted all of them, but it's a special edition. Then I got Frostbitten in this edition, and apparently the first one in this edition, but you know, it's fine. I am okay with it. But I also needed the last book in the spin-off series, which is The Ruby Circle, which is the 6th and final book in the Bloodline series. Obviously, I also continue to add to my Pratchett collection. 2 books that I've added to my collection this year is Jingo by Pratchett, which I've already read. I read this in January. I really enjoyed it. Wasn't my favorite, but it was fun. And the other one is Carpe Jugulum by Pratchett, which is, I think, is going to be my next read. I just finished The Last Continent, so the one I'm reading in April is probably this one. Some books I want to read for the Classics project. I've started collecting a couple of books for that. And one of them I've read, actually 3 of them I've considered read, but then I figured one of them is, I read an abridged version of it. So let's see. The first one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. I already read this one, but I'm planning on rereading it for my Classics project because I would like to reread it and experience it again because I really did enjoy it. So I got it in this Penguin English Library edition that I really enjoy. The reason I enjoy them is that the text is an okay size. They're kind of floppy. I like that they are not stiff, so you can open them pretty easily, and they don't show super much the weariness on the spines. The other one I've already read is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, but I read it so long ago that I figure I need to reread it in order to make a real judgment towards it, because like it's a lot of people's favorite, and I read it at a time when my English wasn't as good as it is now, probably, and so I had a hard time understanding the social stuff and the way that they were talking and sort of the language, and it was a slow moving book, and at the time I just wanted to read books that were a lot faster paced. But I am looking forward to trying this again, and I've heard very excellent things about the audio editions of this. The one that I thought I'd read, but turned out it was an abridged version is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott as well. This is one of those that I think the cover design is a little bit terrible because the writing, you can hardly see the text on the book because of the color combination. I like the simplistic little things here, like the scissors, but I would have liked the writing to have been something else so you could see it. You can't tell on the spine either. You really have to get really close in order to see it. So that is probably a pet peeve. But the next one I also just recently hauled is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, which is also for this project. It's not very... I'm looking forward to reading her books as well, sometime in the future. And the last one I recently hauled is a honker of a book. It is Middlemarch by George Elliott. This is really, really big. I think it's 800 pages. 900 pages long. So yeah, this is one I'm gonna have to have a lot of time to read this. It's definitely not going to be part of my reading when I'm doing the Book to Best of Awards, so I'll wait around with this one. A book that I've already read as well, that is a sequel, that is Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. I have already read and talked about this on my channel. You know that I pretty much enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars, so I definitely recommend this series because I think that the books continues to be amazing. It's not for everyone. I realize that not everyone think this is the best thing ever, and I don't personally think it's the best thing ever, but I am always looking forward to reading them. They are really fast reads, and I feel I get such a comfortable feeling when I pick them up. The atmosphere really sucks me in, and so I'm really happy about that. The next 3 things are things that I added to my orders when I think it was for either the rereads or the Pratchett haul or something like that. But it's definitely some of those that I've added when I feel like I need more in order to order things. I have 3 of those books. That is additions to my TBR. The first one is Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Duane. I've heard excellent things about this author and this specific book. So I've wanted to read this for such a long time, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I have a plan with it soon, so I'll tell you more about that later. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Another one is a sequel, and that is another middle grade book, and that is How to Speak Dragonese by Hiccup Horrendous Haddock. The third, is actually by Cressida Cowell, but it is written as though he is the author of this book. And they're fun because they're filled with illustrations throughout of different things. It has like different lists throughout that also means different things, and it's just a fun way of reading a book because you get all of these fun little things. There are new information about dragons. This one is not about that. It's about a menu. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun reading them, and I'm looking forward to reading on in the series. Last thing I added because of those things is the Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. I've only read the Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and while I enjoyed that, I wanted to see something else that wasn't something I was familiar with in the first place. And I heard, I forgot her name, but Crack into a New Book. I think Crack into a New Book, read the sequel to this and talked about really highly about it. And so I decided I want to try and read this first book. And I have zero idea what that means, but he is known for writing like scientific thrillers. So things that he takes an idea, a scientific thing, and expands upon it, like Jurassic Park, and makes it into a thriller. I guess you call them techno thrillers, maybe? I'm not sure, but interested nonetheless. The last part of the haul is the books that I needed to add to my BookTube SFF reading, except the first one. If I paid a little more attention, I would have known that I didn't need to buy this one, but I did. And that is Dead Voices by Catherine Arden. I've already read this one, and I've talked about it in a recent wrap-up. It was fine. Gave it 4 stars, so it's fine. But the other 2 books I am planning on reading in April. The first one is Starsight by Brandon Sanderson, the sequel to Skyward, which I read last year. This is nominated in the YA category for the BookTube SFF Awards. I did enjoy Skyward. It was fine. It was not fantastic, but it was good. I was entertained. I hope that I will be entertained with this one. It's not super duper long, so. And I do really like these covers. I think they're quite brilliant. The English covers are definitely way better than the American. And the last one I bought was Sal and Gabby Breaks the Universe by Carlos Hernandez, which is one of the middle grade nominees that I need to read. I'm looking forward to this. I have enjoyed some of Rick Riordan's Presents line before, so I have a good feeling about this. But we'll see how it ends up going. So these are all of the things that I have acquired over the past 3 months. Let me know in the comments down below what books of these you are excited for me to read. If you've read any of them, what you thought of them. Have you gotten a lot of books recently, and have you been able to control yourself? I've actually been pretty happy with my ability to not buy as many things that I've done previously. And I am, again, slowing down considerably because now I'm going to be focusing on these classics first and then work my way through the list afterwards. And I don't have to gather more books for the BookTube SFF Awards, and I don't have to... Maybe I'll have to get some sequels for the Tara Pratchett books, but those are the only things, so I don't think it's going to be that bad. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye!